OpenAI has just made 4 development-friendly updates. Number 1, they have come out with Responses API, which is a smoother, cleaner API that they would plan to use for multimodal models and the newer models which they release. Next is built-in tools. They have built some tools related to web search, file search, which would work like a RAG system, and tools to enable computer use. Third, they have revamped their old agentic framework, Swarm, into Agents SDK. They have added some more functionalities, and unlike Swarm, which was not recommended for production, the Agents SDK is recommended for production as well. Last but not the least, they have also added some observability tools to look at the progress of agents and the responses. So what we are going to do in this short video is have a quick look at all 4 of these changes in Jupyter Notebook. So let's do that. So first of all, to set up the system, I updated the OpenAI library to the version 1.66.2. This is a version which would have the responses API. Next, I also installed the new agents SDK, which is pip install OpenAI underscore agents, or rather hyphen agents, right? So I use this command to install the OpenAI agents library. So let's look at the quick testing that we did. Okay, so first of all, we uploaded our OpenAI key as usual, nothing fancy over here. Next, so that we can compare how the responses API look compared to the completions API, we started by using the completions API. To be honest, I never really liked the architecture of completions API. Look at this. Just to get a response, we have to use completion dot choices. Then in the list, we have to mention 0, then message dot content. So a very weird structure to simply get the output of a prompt. Right? So let's just ask a prompt with this old structure. What is the best framework for building agents? LangChain, Autogen, CrewAI, or OpenAI's agent SDK. So far we are using the old completions API. While it's working, let's also notice that now the developer role is the system role, right? So it's no longer recommended to use the system word, but the developer word to change the configuration of the LLM. Okay, all right, so it has come out with a response, and choosing the best framework agent depends on the specific requirement. So a bit diplomatic as expected. Fair enough, we are not really interested in the response. Let's jump to the responses API. So first of all, look at how easy it is to print the response of the model. Just response.output text is going to enable us to print the response of the prompt. Very simple compared to what was being used in the completions API. A few of the changes, messages is being replaced by input over here. So we can mention the different history of messages in the input parameter. Also, the system prompt, which was the developer prompt that we saw in completions API, is now mentioned in a separate parameter called instructions. Right? So I would say very helpful changes which have been made into the system. Let's try this API. Again, we are not really interested in the response, but we'll ask the same question just like last time. Okay, so we have got a response from the new responses API as well. The output is very similar to what we received from the earlier API, and which is expected as well. Next, let's move on to using the new agentic framework by OpenAI. At the outset, this looks a little bit similar to CrewAI as well. Right? So in CrewAI also you have an agent class, and the runner over here seems a little bit similar to the crew, not exactly, but somewhat similar over there. But let me go ahead and import these two classes. The role of agent over here is quite similar to the role of agent in CrewAI, right? So we think about a name for the agent, we add the model name, we add the instructions that we want the agent to follow. So I'm just trying a simple agent over here, which is going to advise us a suitable car type based on a requirement, right? So whether it's going to be a sedan or a hatchback, that's it, nothing special for this very first agent. So let's run it. And now we are going to use the second class, which is runner. We are basically just going to run this agent over here and print out the final output. So this is the prompt that we have used. I'm looking for a car that I enjoy driving and comfortably take 4 people. I plan to travel to hills. So kind of a bad prompt, but still, let's run it. So nothing fancy in this very first agent that we are building. And it gives a decent response that for this requirement, you may consider a compact SUV or a crossover. So we just passed on the agent over here and the prompt, and it worked simply like a charm. So nothing fancy over here, but worked very nicely. Next, let's ramp up some things. So we learned that OpenAI has come out with their own web search tool. So this time we are going to integrate the web search tool capability. Simultaneously, we are also going to add multiple agents over here. Okay, so this time we have built 2 agents. One is the car sell estimate agent. Let's say if we want to sell our car, we have created an agent which will tell us the suitable price of reselling our car. Notice over here that we have added one more parameter, which is handoff description. So this is something that the new version of agentic framework by OpenAI has introduced, that is handoff. How do we coordinate between multiple agents which are present over there, right? So we have 2 agents that we have built over here, and then a third agent which will coordinate which agent to use depending on the prompt. So just for comparison, this handoff terminology is also quite often used in Autogen, another very popular framework for developing agents as well, right? So the first agent is focusing on finding the right price for the car, and the second agent is now going to tell us about the car model that we should buy based on our requirement. Not the car type, but the car model based on the budget, location, and things like that. Another thing that we have done over here is we have added tools, web search tool. So conventionally, before this tool was available, we were using a Tavily client for integrating web search, or if we were using maybe Crew AI, then they have a Serper dev tool. So these were the kind of tools which were popular to search the web. But now OpenAI has come out with their inbuilt tool to search the web. The third agent's job is quite simple. It is just to choose the right agent depending on the task. So it's going to coordinate whether we should use the car sell estimate agent or the car model advisor agent. Okay, in the handoffs, we have mentioned the 2 agents that it can hand off the task to. And let's run it. Okay, I think I forgot to run the first cell. Let me run that and run it back again. And the first prompt that we want to try is, I want to sell my EcoSport car in New Delhi. It is 3 years old and in good conditions. 50,000 kilometer, what price should I accept? And then we have the triage agent over here, which is the last agent that we built. Let's run it. And let me also run the second one, which is about the model of the car. And then we'll look at a few things. I'll just run it. So for the first one, it has accessed the web. It is showing us some links over here. And in fact, it may have found a reference of someone actually selling a 3-year-old EcoSport car, and probably the person got around 5,50,000 rupees for that, right? And it has a caveat for us as well. But quite good. It searched the web, found some relevant information based on the car condition, and gave us some price. And the interesting thing is that internally it would have noticed that for this kind of a query, it needs to use the car sell estimate agent. For the next query, we are asking it that we want to buy a high acceleration car, comfortable for 4 people for 20 lakhs in New Delhi. Which car should I buy? And yeah, decent output. So it's recommending a few cars: Skoda Octavia, Hyundai, Mahindra, Honda, and so on. The good part with this quick testing that we found was that all the innovations that OpenAI has made, they are appearing to be very simple to code, right? So nothing fancy over there. The handoffs between the agents appeared quite smooth. The responses API architecture looks quite clean as well. A few features that I would have wanted to check right now, and maybe they are there. Maybe if we do the in-depth testing, we would be able to find them out. The handoff agent should also have the facility to probably call multiple agents, right? So rather than choosing just one of them, maybe there are certain tasks which can be handed off to multiple agents at the same time. So this is a functionality that I hope OpenAI introduces soon, if they have not done yet. I did some basic testing with a few different scenarios, and I always found that it is choosing one out of the several agents, at least from the basic testing that I did. Last but not the least, let's look at the fourth innovation that they came out with. That was observability. So you saw that using our API, we ran a few prompts and we ran a few agents as well. All this information is getting recorded in the OpenAI platform, right? So if I move on to OpenAI platform, so once you're on the dashboard, after logs, there is traces. If I go to traces and let me just refresh it, and you would see over here. If you would remember, the first prompt that we had tried was on selling the car, right? So we see the workflow over here. It says the triage agent called the car sale estimate agent. And if we click over here, we get to see some more details about the prompt, right? It tells us this agent sent out to this particular agent, and it took these many milliseconds, and so on and so forth, right? So we get some quick output on our responses. Similarly, the next one as well, right? So we get to see some quick traces about our agent workflow. I think with time, these would be useful to evaluate the model's performance, give feedback to the agent or to OpenAI to improve the agentic framework, right? But good signs of adding observability to the agentic frameworks. And this is almost instantaneous. The moment you run your API key for a particular agent, the traces are going to be available over here. All right, so that was a super quick overview of the 4 innovations made by OpenAI for developers. Hope you like it, and we'll try to cover similar content in future as well. Bye.